everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Summer. I'm so excited for today's video. A few weeks ago, a month ago, whatever, I did a fun shag haircut tutorial, and I thought it would be fun to show you how I like to kind of tweak things when going from long to shorter hair. I had mentioned that in that video on whether or not that's something you guys wanted to see, and a few of you answered in the comments saying yes. So I'm just gonna get her shampooed, and that way I can get her sectioned off and we'll get right into the haircut. Okay, so now that we have her sectioned off, we're gonna start with our cutting. So she already has sort of a curtain bang formed. So one thing I did in the original shag haircut was I showed you guys how I created that curtain bang, so you can feel free to check out that video. I'll post the timestamp to where I start that in the description below if you want to check it out. And it was a little bit shorter than where this curtain bang is. So I'm gonna keep the curtain bang where it's at, and we're just gonna use that as our guide for basing off the rest of this haircut. And then again, because this hair is longer, I'm gonna show you how I sort of cut some of the hair out of the way first, just because when working with extra long hair or extra thick long hair, it can be a little annoying. So sometimes I will remove a bulk of it beforehand just to make my life easier. So with this haircut, I'm doing the same thing. I'm gonna be bringing all of this hair forward and meeting it to my guide. So we've got all this extra length down here that is going to be cut. So to make it a little easier for me to work with, I'm just simply gonna comb everything forward, and I can see where my guide is here. So we are literally removing quite a bit of length, but I don't wanna just come in and cut that dead on. I like to leave a little bit of hair to work with. So we're pulling down. I see my guide there, and I'm just gonna come straight across the bottom and cut, removing all that extra length. Again, you can adjust more, but to be on the safe side, leave it a little longer at first, just in case if you accidentally cut too short or something. So we're gonna come in and take our first guide. So like I said, we've already got that curtain bang form that we're using as our guide to match up. So it's gonna cut into a lot more hair around the face to give it sort of that like shaggy, really heavy face framed look. And we are gonna start cutting. So we're gonna pull straight out towards us. Normally you're standing in front of the client if you're doing this in salon or at home. I'm obviously standing a little off to the side so you guys can see. And we're just gonna start evening out to this guide here. We're creating a little bit of an angle here. I'm not coming straight down with it. I'm pulling out just a little bit and point cutting into where that guide is. So you can do this haircut too with a razor if you're comfortable with that. I like to razor at my ends to just add that extra texture. I have never been one to do my full haircut with a razor personally. So if you're comfortable with a razor, by all means, this is the perfect haircut to use a razor. And then because I don't use a razor, I'm just gonna come in and do some light point cutting after I cut each section, just to keep it nice and soft. So next section, I'm doing about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch, clipping the hair out of the way. Okay, we're combing down, and I'm gonna even take a little bit of this middle section, just so I've got better control of seeing my guide, and point cut into that. All right, taking our next section. Again, create a little bit of elevation by pulling out and cut. So like I said, in that original shag I did, it is a much shorter bang. This is where I'm playing off of what she already had, that curtain bang, but it's really gonna shape up and face frame around her face a little bit more, creating more of that lived in look, but she's got a little longer of a bang. And again, you're coming all the way to your front section here and continuing to pull that hair forward, and then we're gonna move into our sides in just a second. Okay, and now that we have the front piece come, you can stand again directly in front of your client. I'm at this weird angle, but you would bring it to the middle to make sure they're lining up. And then I'm just gonna slightly point cut into this on the ends to soften it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna, of course, go through and do a ton of dry cutting. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I love the dry cutting. So now that we have the front section done, what we're gonna do is we're gonna come into our sides. And you can start with whichever side you prefer. Okay, so to take our first side section, we're just gonna come right along the face, take a small section so that way you keep control and can see your guide. And again, if you wanna come in and remove some of this length, you certainly can, because look at how much we're gonna be bringing up in the front. We're gonna be pulling this out, and you've got all that extra hair that you can choose to cut off. Especially I find if the hair is finer, it's easier to work with. I feel like when somebody has super crazy thick hair, which this type of haircut is ideal for, it's easier to remove some length. It just makes it less that you gotta work through. So before I take my section, actually, I'm gonna bring everything forward, and I'm not gonna cut straight across like I did in this front, because I am gonna do a slight angling around the face. So I'm just gonna bring this down, come down, and just angle. Okay, so just come in, angle down a little bit, removing some of that length so that way you have a little bit less hair that you've got to work through. And then again, we're just gonna take our section right along the hairline, clip the rest of this hair back out of the way, and we're gonna cut. So again, you're gonna be standing directly in front of your client, and you're gonna be bringing everything towards you. And where in the front here I was going straight across, I'm just gonna very, very slightly angle my hands because I wanna create a natural flow falling down so it's not such a hard blunt line, especially around the corner here. I feel like if you go straight across, it just gets a little too, I don't know. I don't like the way that it looks, honestly. So I like to angle my hands just a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna take our first section, and you're gonna slightly angle your fingers down, and you can even kind of pull a little towards you to ensure you're creating that angle, and point cut into that. So again, pulling towards you, keep those hands at a little bit of an angle, and cut. So again, this haircut is going to be removing a ton of length right around the face to get that nice shaggy look. And now we're just gonna take our next section. So come at the top of your section, again, pull over and lightly towards you while angling your hands. So as you move further back on your section on your sides, you're gonna see more length coming in because you're creating that angle. And then as we work our way to the back, I'll show you how we're gonna blend in the back with the sides. Coming from the top, come forward, angle, cut. And you can even choose to sliver down if you want a little bit as you get towards the last two sections for your sides. Okay, so and again, when you're cutting the sides, you're still going to be standing directly in front of the client. I have her at an angle so I could cut it a little bit better, but you would be right in front of the client. And then we're just gonna repeat the same exact steps on this other side. Again, I'm gonna come in and remove just a little bit of length for each section, just so it makes it a little easier to work with. So again, I'm gonna angle my hands down just a little bit here and come up from the bottom of your section and cut into it. I am using the fine side of my comb to take my section down into cutting. Again, comb everything from the top towards you, and we're curving our hands just a little bit here. Okay, and then before moving to the back, I'm just gonna check my sides. So again, you would stand directly in front of your client, pull everything towards the center, and cut where you need. Okay, so now that we have our front done, we're gonna move into the back. And what I'm gonna do first is figure out where I wanna blend in her sides. So one of the biggest things with the difference between this and the other one I did, the other one I was trying to leave the length in the back. This one I am fine with losing it and matching it up. We're still gonna have some length here kind of in this little middle area. This is gonna look a lot more shaggy, mullet-esque is how I like to describe it. So what I'm gonna do to blend in the sides is I'm just gonna part it right down the middle in the back. Push that hair forward, and again, it doesn't really matter which side you start with to blend in. Okay, so I'm just gonna clip this hair because there's a lot of length, and I'm gonna spin her to the side. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take small sections from the back at a time and bring it forward and just match up with your front sides. So again, you can use a razor for this, your regular scissors, whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, so we have our guide is right here. So I'm just gonna angle my fingers. I'm gonna take my shears and literally just sliver down and cut enough as I go. So next section, fine side of your comb, come down with it, meet where your last section was, and sliver down. And again, you can use a razor if you want for this, whatever you're comfortable with. And you're just gonna keep taking your sections from the back until you have reached your middle, and then repeat on the other side.
Sugar sweet, you got what I need. Sipping on the potion, all that good emotion. Just my kind of heat, keep it on repeat. Tested by the motion, loving this devotion.
I see my guide here, sliver. And then I like to just sort of bring the hair down along the sides. I don't like to really stand in front of the client to do it or behind them. I just find coming right in at their shoulder is the easiest way to blend. And then Sometimes, like I did on the other side, I'll come in with my razor and just lightly razor down to soften it. All right, and now we are going to cut our back layers. Okay, so to come in and cut our back layers, what I'm gonna do is take my first section to set my guide, so right in the middle of the head, push that hair forward. Okay, so to set your guide for your back layers, you're gonna take from your top layer for your front. We're gonna pull it straight up and take a guide from our back layer here. And we're coming, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pull out straight from the roundness of the head. So each section, as you go down the head, you're gonna be coming straight out 90 degrees from the roundness of the head. So we're coming up, there's my guide, cut. Drop that front section, take your next guide, coming out from the roundness of the head, cut. Drop your top guide, and you're just gonna repeat the same pattern all the way down the head, and it just creates a nice shape as you move down with getting a lot of layers and working your way down to your length. And again, as you work your way down, you're gonna change your angle a little bit because you wanna come out from where that head is rounding. So we have a little bit of a curve going here. So I'm not coming straight up or straight out, I'm coming out from the roundness of the head. And as I work my way down to my length, I'm gonna angle my hands a little bit to start from the longest point and work my way into the shortest point. Angle my scissors, I should say. Now we're at the bottom here, so we're angling with the roundness, coming down and cut. So after I get all these layers cut, what I'll do is refine the length if I need to. And we're just gonna do this same exact pattern all through the head. So I'm gonna take my next guide here, keeping the rest of this hair clipped out of the way. And I'm gonna take a little from this middle guide to make my guide as I round on each side of the head. It's also important to make sure you're taking guides that you can easily see through. It makes it much easier and keeps it much more blended. It's coming all the way down to that very bottom length and just lightly cutting off that little bit on top. And then we've got our last section for right here in the corner at the ear. match up, do the same thing we've been doing for this whole back side. Okay, and now we're just gonna finish off on the other side. I'm gonna respray it a little bit because she's gotten a little dry on me. Back to that middle guide to create the guide for this last half. I didn't go over enough. And again, we're pulling it out from the roundness of the head. Clip out that top section of your layer if you need to, if you find it to be easier. And then again, small enough sections that you can easily see your guide. And then we're finishing right off here, right in this corner by her ear. Gonna do the same steps, bring everything up and cut with the roundness of the head. Okay, so we've got her cut everywhere, and before I start my blow dry, I'm gonna opt to go in and just do a little bit of razor work now, just to create a little bit more softness on those ends and to get it a little bit more piecey, so the blow dry aspect, you'll be able to see a little bit more movement with it. And if your client has a ton of hair and you're gonna texturize them, it's better sometimes to do it when it's wet because it's less hair you have to blow dry. So I'm just gonna separate her, nothing crazy, just starting from the back and working my way up. And this is totally optional, all personal preference. I'm just doing it this way to kind of create a little bit more pieciness. So she's lining actually up pretty well back here, it looks like, from angling the sides. The hardest part, I would say, with this haircut is blending in the sides to the back to match the length. This kind of creates a little bit of that V shape, which, if I'm being honest, isn't like my preferred favorite haircut look, but a lot of people love it. And it really goes well with this type of cut when you're getting that super face framing, lived in shagged pieces in the front, but you wanna leave the length in the back. That's where the V cut comes in handy also. So again, I'm just at random, doing a little bit of razor work, nothing crazy. I'm just going very gentle with it. I'm not trying to really remove any length, just soften it up in some spots. I'm curious to know if you guys can leave a comment below. What's your preferred scissor method? Do you like, or cutting method, I should say, do you like cutting with standard shears for most of your haircuts like I do? Do you love a razor? Let me know in the comments below what you guys prefer as far as cutting with this type of haircut specifically too. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and get her styled, and then we'll check everything. I'll show you guys how I like to go and cross-check things, see if we need to remove any length back here, and then we'll get finished up. Okay, so I have got her styled, and she definitely needs a little bit of texturizing, especially in this bang area. I love this haircut. It's so fun to do, and I wish more clients wanted this. But so, let me turn her here. She's got a lot of layers, obviously, all around her face, but her bangs are just a little too heavy looking for me, but I want to show you the back too before I cut into it. So we've still got length down here. So you do have that length, and then lots of movement, lots of texture. I want to texturize into this little top part some more, and maybe just in the middle, either with my thinning shears or a razor. And then from the side, you really see the mullet vibes, but I love it. So this cut is especially fun too, because when somebody pulls their hair up, they're gonna have those nice pieces falling along their face. So these we wanna wisp up a little bit more. So I'm just gonna go through, do a lot of texturizing with my razor and my thinning shears, and maybe cut a little bit more layer in this middle section. We'll see. So again, her bangs are just heavy. So I'm just gonna come in with my razor, and I'm not putting a lot of pressure, just enough to take out some of that hair and soften it up. I feel like this style of cut, to get that pieciness and position the layers where you can really see the movement, you wanna go in with like a, I love, it's from 80's, it's called their dry lift paste. I use that all the time, so I will link that below. It's good for your first day hair, second day hair. It just kind of kicks around the hair, but it has some extra lift to it everywhere, and it's got some hold. This side especially is really heavy. And then her color, if you're interested, I don't even know how long ago, it's a halo money piece. So all along her hairline, I did foils and a little bit everywhere else just to blend it in. And I'll link that video below if you care to check that out too, to see how I created the color, if you are interested. Right here in this top layer, I feel like is too bulbous looking for me. And then if you are checking your sides, again, you're just gonna stand directly in front of your client and pull everything towards the center to make sure it matches up. And then if you wanna, once it's dry, kind of look over, I wanna cut here a little bit, got sidetracked there. If you wanna look over where the back length meets the sides, you surely can. And you can either go in and sliver down again with your regular shears or with your razor, whatever you prefer, but that's lining up nice. So I did a lot of flips and movements with my blow dry for this, and then I think she's good. This is a little thick looking for me, but that is mostly, for some reason they make mannequins' hairline so freaking thick, and I just don't understand why. And it pops out to the side, but I'm gonna leave that. I'll do it just a little bit. It's driving me nuts. When you can also, for checking the back, again, you would stand behind their head and pull everything towards the center to make sure everything is lining up nice. But she's looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and put in a little bit of that dry lift paste so you guys can see what it looks like styled, and then we'll get settled here. All right, everyone, here we have our finished and final look. Again, I used 80's dry lift paste to go through and give her some texture and pieciness with the product. Product is key with creating that lived-in look after you have it dried and styled. She looks very similar to the original shag that I did. However, we've got a little bit longer of a curtain bang, but we went in and removed a ton of length that we originally had, really cutting into those sides for a lot of movement, and we have a little bit more of a disconnect between the front and the back with tons of movement and layers everywhere with a nice slight V shape. I like to do regular scissors when cutting the bulk of this haircut and using my razor to go in and add some texture and pieciness. You can certainly do the whole entire haircut with a razor if you are comfortable with that. And let me know in the comments below, what is your preferred method for cutting? Do you like the regular shear or do you like the razor? Again, you can go ahead and remove a little bit of length like I did when I was cutting her sides if they have very long hair and they're taking the length a lot shorter in the front. Obviously leave it a little bit longer at first so you have more room to play around with, but I like doing that, especially on thicker, coarse hair types. I feel like it's just easier to work through the hair. So I hope you guys enjoyed this week's video. Please ask any questions that you may have in the comments below. I love talking to you guys. As always, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week.